our work very, very seriously. We don't take ourselves too seriously. So this session today, I want you to have a bit of fun, if you're up for that. Yes. I can see your little faces all full of bright, funny days ahead. Yes? Okay, so to start with, before we do anything else, I'm going to get you to do something. I'm going to talk to you a bit about how coaching changes the brain. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But before we do, should we do something that might actually change your brain? You up for that? I'm sorry, I like a more of a Pontins type of audience. Are you up for that? Hey, that's what I like it. You know, I love these things. It always makes me feel like Madonna. Holiday, celebrate. Anyway, so what we're going to do, we're all going to get up, have a little holiday. What I'd like you to do is stand up and fist bump as many people as you can. Okay? Fist bump as many people as you can. But there is more to it. There is more to it. Wait. Because when you fist bump them, I want you to tell them something that you love. Okay? Anything that you love. So think about things you really love and give somebody a fist bump and say, "Hi, I'm Maria and I love my little dog Alfie." Okay? But you don't have to say that. You fill in the gaps, yeah? You understand? So you're not all Maria and you don't all have dog called Alfie, yeah? Alright, okay. Everybody up! Fist bump away! Okay, are you ready? You might want to take notes. Your brain is connected to every other part of your body. Okay? Are you? Just take a moment to take that in for just one moment. Okay? It's connected to every other part of your body. Now, a lot of our doctors don't kind of get that, and I've been working with them to help them because it's a difficult concept, isn't it? It's difficult to really get to grips with that. And this is why what happens in your body is actually affected by your brain. Now, we know for a fact that certain physiological conditions are directly related to the state of our brain. And we actually can even identify that according to the part of the body and where it's related. So anything under the diaphragm, for example, is certainly, any kind of condition you have, is certainly going to be related and responsive to anything that is going on up here. And that is why people get so many stress-related gut issues, right? So when we're talking about the importance of neuroscience, this isn't just one of those things you add. So, okay, we're going through everything that we need to do here. We have to go through the appraisals. We have to make sure we've got those sorted. We've got to go through performance management. We have to do the rewards. Pop the brain science in there, just make sure that's it. We've got, that doesn't work like that because it is fundamental. And the other thing which is fundamental is well-being. Well-being is fundamental, which is why we say it has to be fun. Because if it isn't fun, it's not really well-being, is it? That's just me, maybe. It's just me. But as you can see, I'm wearing lobsters today because I need to come out of my shell a little bit more. Start quality again, sorry. Like it's a free talk. But what we do want to do is bring a little bit more fun into the world of coaching and into the world of work. So what we are saying is, you really need to make sure anything you're doing in terms of coaching and anything you're doing in terms of improving the well-being of your people needs to have 4 things related to it. First of all, it needs to be easy. If people are having problems with well-being, do they want something difficult? There are some fantastic things that you can do out there, but they're not easy to do if you're not in the great space. Would you agree? So, when people say, you're very negative, stop being negative. Or you're very stressed, relax. That's great, isn't it? And I'm going to tell you later why that isn't a good idea if you haven't already figured it out for yourself. But anyway, so we do something, and this is just a little bit of a little plug. What we do is something called a bend. And you've just done one which was a fist bump bend, but we're going to do some others. And bends stands for, you can write this down, brief emotional non-verbal displays. Brief emotional non-verbal displays. Okay? So it's what you do with your body. So this is really important to what we do. And if you write that down, B-E-N-D, you have to put a little R with a circle around it. Anyway, right. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about how coaching changes the brain, yay, and shifts behaviours. If you want to change people's behaviours, it's really difficult to start with the behaviours. So what we want to start with is things that are easy to do. Not things you have to think about, things that are easy to do. So what we're looking at here is progressive, psychologically sophisticated coaching frameworks. So there's some very interesting work, particularly in Australia, that's been done on evidence-based coaching. And I really urge you all to look at the research that's been done on the evidence base. Because what we need to start doing now with coaching is looking at, what are we actually doing? Is coaching benign? Is it something that anyone can do and it's not doing any harm, so never mind? Or is it actually that we're getting to a point now where coaching is actually maybe almost moving towards therapy? Now, we don't do therapy, but you have to be mindful that when we're dealing with well-being, there may be some grey areas and overlaps, and I'm going to talk to you a bit about that. So, what we need to be thinking about is, and here is a brain, what we need to be thinking about is, how do we understand the way that the brain works in order to use the structure and the function of the brain to create a way of changing people's behaviours? And there are some things that I'm just going to do a little bit of myth busting on. First of all, there is no... Right, be ready for this. Put your hands up if you've done neuroscience. Have you done a bit of neuroscience? There's a lady in the back there. Hello! Brill. So if you've been told that there is a part of the brain that is the emotional part of the brain, then you need to bear in mind that that isn't actually true. There is no evidence, in fact, quite the opposite. There is evidence of the opposite. The other thing that is worth bearing in mind is that emotions don't happen first. So we often think, oh, I've had an emotional reaction to that, yeah? You say, oh, I reacted emotionally. They don't actually happen first. The thing that happens first is the feelings. So what is different between emotions and feelings? Well, feelings are what happen in your body. It's all of those different changes, those little tiny variations in chemical balance in your body that are happening all the time. You experienced one earlier. You were all sitting quietly, calmly, like you are now, and then you all jumped up and went, what a hubbub! Yip, 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 everyone chatting, yeah, it was really amazing. Complete change in your brain chemistry, complete change in your body chemistry. So that's how the brain and body can change. And what you're doing then is you're having feelings, okay? Those feelings are across your whole body. And we then later on will label them with emotions, but that's a more complex thing. We're talking also about that this is a whole brain thing. So if you've been told about your right brain and your left brain, and some people are more like right brain and some people want more left brain, that's not true, because we're all whole brain. Okay, there are specialised areas of the brain that do special things, but we all have to use all our brain effectively. Of course we do. We don't go around with this amazing thing just sitting there going, oh, I don't know when she's going to start being creative. But, you know, so logical. It just doesn't happen. It's happening all the time. However, it's difficult sometimes to get into your creativity, wouldn't you say? Do you sometimes find your brain gets stuck? Right. In that case, do you? Do you sometimes... She's getting very aggressive now. Do you sometimes find your brain gets stuck? Yes. Do you? Do you really? In a minute, you're going to clap your hands and say you believe in fairies. Anything is possible. Okay then, well let's see if we can get your creative processes working, shall we? Do you fancy doing a bit of that? Would you like to get a bit creative with me? Would you? Right, everyone up on your feet, please. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to get that whole brain worked a little bit. Okay, the way you get creative is the way that you get both sides of the brain communicating. There's a bit in the middle of your brain called the corpus callosum. You might not need to know that, but I'm telling you anyway. It's a big piece of white matter, which is where the brain... I hope you were at the previous talk where they were talking about synapses, were you? Yeah, right, okay. So those long axons, they're all the white matter in the middle of the corpus callosum, which joins two sides of the brain together. Okay. And what we're going to do now is we're going to start really firing that. Are you ready? Okay. Get your arms and put them out in front of you, please. Okay, now take your right hand and put it on your nose. Take your left hand and grab your right ear. Fantastic, and everyone has managed to do that. Brilliant. Nearly. And change. And change again. And you've got to think about it a bit, haven't you? Now change again. Grab hold of the mic. And now stretch and change. And stretch and change. And speed up a bit. Speed up a bit. Now do a little shimmy. Do a little shimmy. Do a little shimmy. Right, now pat your head. And rub your tummy. Yay! Right, sit down. Right up. Okay, what you're doing there is you're connecting the two sides of your brain by doing that. So a bit of coordination to get your two sides of your brain running. Okay, so these are different things that you can do to actually start shifting the way your brain's working. And get into the right chemistry to create the right results. What we're looking at here, and this is the interesting bit, what we're looking at is the concept that you can actually create DNA change. You can actually change your DNA. That's a bit kind of, isn't it? What do you say? How many people have recently changed their DNA? Hands up. Well done. Okay, so there wasn't anyone putting their hands up, but I wanted a bit of interaction, you know. So if nobody speaks, I'll just make them up. Right, this is what we're looking at very quickly. We're looking at presenteeism and how hidden mental health are major issues in the workplace and how this affects coaching. We're looking at the need to develop these psychologically sophisticated coaching methods and what they look like, and you're already getting a feel for that, I think. We're looking to the 3 steps for creating actual DNA change. That's what you're all here for. Hands up if that's why you came. Hands up if you saw that while we're doing this, you're allowed to, tweet at me, and if any of you can come up with a name for our little robot here, and you tweet it, you can have the robot. Some of you might not want to do that because you don't want the robot, but you can obviously, you can give it away to a needy cause. Anyway, and how to alter your brain chemistry using bends, and we've already looked at a bit of that, so you've already got some of this stuff already before we've gone very far. So, first thing then, hidden mental health. Now, you might be interested to know that I've written a paper on this. Actually, I haven't written it. It's a lie. Just made that up. That gentleman over there actually is the guilty parties, and it's actually written by Mr. Oliver Carr, Sussex University researcher. So you might be interested in this. But this is really interesting. We did some research into what's actually going on. Why aren't people talking about mental health? Why is it a hidden problem? Is it a hidden problem? And we came up with 4 things that are actually leading to poor mental health in the workplace. And you may want to know what they are. I'm only going to have a bit of time to tell you about this, so if you want to get hold of the white paper, if you go to our stand, we'll send you one, okay? But there are 4 key things that have come up. One is stigma. That's not a surprise, is it? I mean, how many people are in workplaces where everybody feels free to talk about mental health? Right. How many people are in I'm going to try this the other way around. How many people are in workplaces where you don't feel free to talk about mental health? That's got to be everyone else. It doesn't work any other way. This is a dichotomous question. You can't be neither true nor false. You have to be one of them. So, okay, so the thing is, we're a lot of us dealing with this issue where it's actually maybe not okay to not be okay. Yeah? Do you agree? And we know that there are a number of things. One, it's difficult to find the language. We've got this in here. There's stigma. There's also a big problem of presenteeism. Who are the people that are the presentees? How do we know? And that's a big problem. And the other thing is, a lot of the initiatives that have been developed are actually more about the organisation than the individual. You know, it's looking at how do we deal with this en masse, rather than what's happening to each individual. So these are areas where it's meaning that we're having a problem dealing with well-being, and this is where coaching can be really supportive, because coaching can actually get to the individuals. One of the things that is very important for me, and that's one of the most, and people talk a lot about things being hardwired. You heard that expression. You're allowed to speak to me. Have you heard that expression? Hardwired? Yes? Okay. People talk about, oh, that's hardwired in the brain, that's hardwired in the brain. I don't really go along with that. There's not an awful lot I would say is hardwired into our brain. We can change most of it. We can change our DNA, for goodness sake. But what I would say is that one of the things that is difficult for us in terms of what is hardwired, one of the things that makes the biggest problem for us, and that is to do with connection, because we are all actually wired for connection. Every one of us is wired for connection. So when people say, I'm going to use some technology to solve the problem of well-being, I always say, well, I hope that that technology is providing a gateway to another human being, because that's where technology can be amazing. But if you don't have human connection, you're not actually going to be able to change anybody's well-being levels. So, would you like to see what happens when you have a bit of human connection? Would you? Yes? Okay. So what I'm going to do is going to ask you all to stand up, and we're going to do a different type of exercise, a bit like what we did earlier. You always have to stand up with me. It's all about standing up. Okay, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to turn to the person to your left and shake hands with them and say hello, even if you know them. Everyone does it at the same time. There's a flaw in my plan. You can also turn to the person on your right and say hello. So yeah, mix it up a bit, everyone, mix it up a bit. Massive flaw. And then turn to the other person. So you have basically said, the outcome I'm looking for here, that I haven't probably thought through, is that you need to introduce yourself to people on both sides of you. Is that easier? So shake hands with the people on both sides of you, that's much better. So go ahead, make sure you say hello. side of the other of you. Instead of shaking hands with one hand, I want you to hold both of their hands. I want you to look at them and say, hello, I want you to see me. Okay? Hello, I want you to see me. I'm here. Okay, you can sit down when you're done. And there's a reason why I've done that with you, which is cruel. That feels a bit different, doesn't it? Does anyone feel a little bit weird doing it? No, there's a reason for that, because that is really, really quite a strong connection, isn't it? So we're really used to shaking hands with people that is quite at a distance, isn't it? Hello, hello, very nice to meet you. But actually, when we look at somebody, hold both of their hands, and look at them and say, I want you to see, when you say I want you to see me, it's an eye contact thing. And that can feel a little bit weird, so, you know, thank you all for having a little bit of fun with that. But the thing about it, which is important, is actually when you do that, when you create connection, you change your body chemistry. And this is a really important bit of body chemistry change, because when you have the chemistry of connection, the problem of stress melts away. It actually completely removes the problem of stress. So you go from being in a stressed and dangerous state to being in a activated, energized and healthy state. Connection is really powerful. So when we're feeling stressed, the last thing we want to do is run away and hide somewhere. We need to connect. And this is why coaching is really important. The importance of connection. And with coaching you can do that. So even just at a light level, before we get into deep neuroscience, you can see how important it is to our well-being and how important it is as organisations. So let's have a look at psychologically sophisticated coaching, shall we? So this is a little graph. I always like graphs because it makes me look more clever. Okay, so hopefully you're thinking, she must be very intelligent, she's got a graph up there. So, so this graph shows you, this is the dimensional approach to personality. So this idea that personality is on a dimension, from being pathologically disordered at this end to being healthy at this end. The usual distribution bell graph there. But what this shows you, and this is important for us at the moment in organisations, what this shows you is there is a little bit here where we've got what might be our challenging coaching clients, these people here. And actually, this section here is growing. This is growing, and the bell chart is moving the wrong way. So the research we're doing in wellbeing is actually showing that rather than having the majority of people in that centre bit, whoops, now I've got to speed up. In that centre bit, they're actually moving in this direction. So this means that when we're doing coaching with people, we're more and more likely to be coming across people who are actually beginning to move towards what we call psychopathology, people with well-being or mental health issues. And this is another reason why it's important to have an evidence-based coaching tool. Because if you're starting to find this moving in this direction, it means that you've got to make sure that whatever you're doing is very robust indeed. It has to be robust because coaching isn't necessarily benign. We have to stop seeing it as something that anybody can do. You really need to start thinking about it in terms of you need to be qualified and aware and able to be able to deal with the very difficult people, even if it means referring them, because it's very difficult to spot the people who need to be referred. So this is an interesting little thing that I've put on top here. So you can see where you've got people in this area, this is where people really need help. You will have people in your workplaces who are actually presenting like this and you might not even know. And they might still be at work. We've then got this type of area here. These are the people where there is significant functional impairment. They are injured. They are injured. And we are seeing the workplace is injuring people. I was having a chat to Peter Cheese earlier, and he finished my sentence for me, and I said, well, the definition of madness is, and he said, yes, doing the same thing and expecting the same different result. Right? And what are we doing in organisations? It's more of the same, and we're wondering why people are getting less and less capable. We have to think differently. When we get to this sort of area here, reactive, a lot of us can drop into that from time to time. A lot of us can fall into a state where we're not actually at our best. We're not actually behaving in the way that we would like to behave. This is because our brains, when they're under stress, stop being able to function. It actually, literally, and I'm talking physiologically, reduces the amount of processing your brain can do. It actually starts to revert to behaviours that you maybe not even want to use, but they're actually already programmed in there. We call it the red route, the reactive, ecologically driven route. These are things that people just do because they are under an awful lot of pressure. And this is my second advert. So I'm doing my PhD on zombie culture in the NHS, okay? So I've got people management did a really nice little blog on that as well. So, but if you want to have a look at that, if you're in the NHS or if you're interested on what happens to people when they're under a massive amount of stress, you can have a copy of that white paper, which is like a precursor to what I'm doing. But when we're in a reactive state, this is where you're going to have people who are going to be presentees. These people are presentees. They're there, but they're not really functioning. They're just literally there. But you'll also find that they can be a real difficulty for you. Because these are the people that either burst into tears or bite somebody's head off, or just melt, or out of it. So this is why we have to look at what we need to do in order to make sure that we start thinking about all of these issues before we even begin coaching. So there are four things, not three things. There are four things I'd like to put to you that you need to think about in terms of coaching from the neuroscience. Okay, thing number one, you cannot start with goals. Okay, hands up if you've ever heard of coaching that does start with goals. Oh, hands go down. So, coaching's about goals, isn't it? Yeah? No. Coaching should not start with goals. If somebody's coming to you for coaching and they say, what I want is, I've got a problem with doing presentations, and what I want to do is work out how to structure it, how to carry out. Fine, they've got a goal, they know what they want to do, fine. But we're not talking about that kind of coaching. I'm talking about coaching which might be performance coaching. Why is this person not performing? Why is this person not able to do what they need to do? This person needs to be enabled. If these people need to be enabled, you do not start with goals. Goals are very, very destructive, and what you will find is that by the time you finish the coaching, the goal has changed. And I bet you've had that experience, so that means it wasn't worth starting with. So what you need to start with is things that aren't actually to do with goals. So what do? You need to think about process and not content. When we're coaching very often in organisations, we think about the content. So what happened? Who said that? Well, how are you going to deal with what they said? What are you going to do? When are you going to do it? Yeah, all of that content. Content is not helpful if you want to actually create behavioural change. What you need is to understand the process. You need to understand the brain process. What has led to these behaviours happening in the first place? I'm a big advocate of what we don't want to do is keep pulling people out the river. What we want to do is stop them falling in upstream, okay? And what we're doing a lot of the time is just frantically swimming out, pulling all this and all that, and nobody's actually saying, hey, upriver, everyone's jumping in off the bridge. Let's go in and tell them there's another way. So that's what we need to be thinking about. We need to be thinking about the process, not the content. We also need to think about how coaching can eliminate, I've been given my orders, so I've got to hurry up. How coaching can actually reinforce negatives. So when you talk about negative things and you don't know how to talk about them, you reinforce them. You don't want to do that. And I said I'll give you 4, and by golly I will give you 4. The fourth one is solution orientation. You do not want to be solution orientated with coaching. It should instead be state arranging. So, state changing. If I'm in the right state, I can figure out my problems for myself. Okay? If I'm in the right biochemical state, I know what to do for my own life. The problem with people is not that they need to have a solution. There's times when somebody says something to you like, oh, God, I don't know how I'm going to get home on time. I've really got to get home. I've got a problem. You go, well, why don't you take the train? Well, no, I can't take the train because, why don't you actually I've already contemplated all those solutions. It's not the solution I need. It's to be able to change my state so I can figure it out for myself. So that's what we need to do with coaching. So I'm going to just quickly say 3 steps to DNA changes. You start with the bends, with changing your physiology and change your state. And by doing that and connection, you can create DNA change. If you want to know more about it, as I've been wound up, go to our stand and I'll talk to you. And if you want to change your body now, which we're going to do, even though I'm running over quickly, is stand up, everybody. We're going to change our state. So, earlier, do stand up for me, please. Do stand. If you don't want to, you can leave now, it's fine. So, are we in agreement that we need to get more connection going in the workplace for health? Yeah? Let me hear you say yes. Let me really hear you say yes. Okay then. You've already shaken hands with people, so put your hand out and hold hands with the people either side. You've already touched them, so you can touch them again. It's okay. Brilliant. And now we're going to do a state change. You have to stand up for this, you know. So these tired people. So what you have to do, we're going to do a state change. I want you all to lift your arms up. This is called Fiero. It's a psychologically identified position and it changes your body chemistry. And we're going to say, yes!